We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Hit the subscribe button. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends if you want to support this Rebel Outpost college football channel with a donation to help us keep the lights on so we can do a live show almost every single day. Hit the $, make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome one and all. Everybody, including the Boilermakers out there, including the Terrapins out there, including the Bulldogs out there, including all the Cougars out there. Everybody is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. It's been a very busy Monday. I know this is going to be a busy week. I know it's going to be a busy week. I was not expecting today to take the turn that it took. We've been working hard here at Peek Around the Corner, trying to give you a peek around the corner in college football. Matt Baker, the great Matt Baker, does it again from the Tampa Bay Times. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Unbelievable. We're going to be talking about it. And did you notice the date? I know a lot of people probably don't understand, who probably haven't heard yet, about the breaking news, Tampa Bay Times, Matt Baker, FOIA requests, wanted related documents in regards to these universities in the ACC hiring law firms in relation to legal matters about their athletics in relations to ACC membership. And he got some information back. And the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, did hire a law firm for related matters, a retainer in regards to their ACC membership. They did it in September. What was going on in September? What was going on in October? What eventually happened in December at the UNC Chapel Hill? A lot of cloak and dagger, a lot of dots being connected. Very interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be going through the Matt Baker's article. We're still waiting. It could happen during the live show. Keep your head on a swivel. Once I get done with the monologue, once we get to the phone calls, the super chats, the memberships, I'm going to be keeping my head on a swivel in regards to Leon County. I expect something to be dropping here soon in Leon County, Florida. So keep an eye on that as well. Man, we got to get a lot. We got a lot to get to. Ryan Willie, thank you so much. Eva Badger. Boom! There goes the ACC imploding. Thank you so much for your super chat, Ryan Willie. Thank you so very much. But remember, UNC Chapel Hill does not have the power. The Board of Trustees does not have the power to initiate, litigate, settle in regards to going to the courts, settling with the ACC. They cannot sue the ACC. The Board of Trustees, UNC Chapel Hill does not have that power. And when did that power, the process, when did it start? When was the process beginning in the state of North Carolina to strip the powers from the Board of Trustees? Think about it. And then, and we broke here at Peek Around the Corner. We broke a couple things here at Peek Around the Corner. This morning, because of a great member here at Peek Around the Corner, Justin Lucas, he was able to provide me information on the North Carolina. There's a bill in the House of Representatives, in the legislature in the state of North Carolina, UNC, North Carolina, what are they calling it? Let's just put it up on the screen. North Carolina House of Representatives Committee Meeting Notice and Bill Sponsor Notification. This is for tomorrow, Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. The time, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. The UNC Interstate Athletic Competition Bill. right? The competition bill. So, this is where they're going to be talking about. This is the first step, the first hearing on talking about how those six state public universities, North Carolina, that's in FBS football, how they're going to have to play each other once every 6 years. This is the legislation right here. This is the first step in that getting passed, if it gets passed. Again, taking the power out of the hands of the athletic department at North Carolina, the state of North Carolina dictating who you need to play within your state. Anthony Carlson puts up on the board an act to require eligible constituent institutions of the University of North Carolina to regularly compete against one another in football and basketball. Okay, we've got a lot to get through. Then we broke another story here, Peek Around the Corner, when it comes to the NBC football schedule. At least a little portion of it. We're going to be going through all that. Matt Higgins, Roll Tide, Roll. Thanks for coming on in. Joe Z is in the house. Droid132, Andrew Krill is here. Chief Fan, Vox Quindaro is here. Mr. Buckeye, Jared Jones, Don Scruggs, DP, Humble, Bumble, Duck, Cornelius Green, Daniel's in the house, Clemson alumnus. Stephen McNeely is here. Jonathan Price, Nick Boardman, Old Dad is here. The Cyclone, Matt Neeson, Dark Moon, Lee, Richard Brookins, Charles M. Laura Weiss, Jeff Olson, 10-4, good buddy, the Evil Badger. Jeff Olson is in the house. Les Austin Jr., Tracy FSU, Minnesota Seminoles, Robert Trunnell is here. I Got the Keys, Keith Moore. Sheep in Wolves Clothing, Rock and Rant, Thomas is here. Mr. Hoosier, Daniel Montcastle is in the house. Let's Go Blue, Marcus Williams is here. Benjamin Griffin, Anthony Palika, Anthony Carlson, Jay Chapman, Movie Time Blues, Joaquin Morales is in the house. Don't forget to smash the like button. Amazing Blue is here. Jay Chapman, Terry Kane, Mountaineer Monk, Expedition Greg, Larry the GM, Amy S. Cloakin, and a Dagger. Amy S. is in the house. Jay Go Blue is here. Mr. Colorado Buffalo Richard L. is here. Ray, Jay Morgan, Stephen Vitt, Paul Clifton, Jeff Beaver, Rob Ellen. Bang, 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 holy smokes from the young Seminole. Who else is here? Holy smokes. None is here. Florida Canes. Jan is here. Did I miss anybody? Nathan is here. Northern Knoll. A lot of people coming on in. Kirk, Dominique, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, Papa Cade. Okay, let's get to it. We've got a lot to get to here at the beginning of the show. We were able to, because of the generosity of a source, a peek around the corner, and then we were able to confirm it. We were able to break the news that sources have told college football's peek around the corner, Iowa at Minnesota football game, September 21st, will be on NBC primetime, the Florida of Rosedale. So thank you for the source. We were able to confirm it. And then I spent a couple minutes after confirming it with the second source. I had to make sure this had already been reported. I didn't want to go out there and say, hey, look, guys, here's some new information. And I wasn't quite sure if, but I couldn't find anybody that it wasn't out there. So I put it out there, and Iowa at Minnesota. Now, this is a preferred game. It could be changed. It probably won't. It's early in the season, but it might change. All the NBC games might change. So the Florida Rosedale, the big rivalry, Minnesota, Huntington Stadium, Iowa at Minnesota. And then, so we reported this at 12:42 p.m. Coming off the top rope, Brett McMurphy did an NBC's preferred primetime lineup sources told Action Network, and he listed a whole bunch of games. Now, unfortunately, at Peek Around the Corner, we didn't have any of this information. It wasn't a case that we didn't have the go-ahead. We just did not have any of this. Brett McMurphy, Iowa at Minnesota, Illinois at Penn State, Michigan at Washington, October 5th. Ohio State at Oregon, NBC, October 12th. Iowa at Michigan State. Iowa has another NBC game, prime time, on the road again. Penn State at Wisconsin. USC at Washington. Florida State at Notre Dame. That is the Notre Dame primetime game. Florida State at Notre Dame. Oregon at Wisconsin. USC at UCLA. Oregon at Washington. So those are the games, NBC primetime. Okay, so we were busy. Those are the NBC games. The first couple weeks through September 14th, that was already reported on earlier, September 21st and beyond. This is an On3 article from Eric Prisbell. I find very interesting. We're going to go through this before we get to the Matt Baker story. Tampa Bay Times, UNC retaining a legal firm in September of 2023. Again, the date is very, very interesting. We're going to go through that. After House settlement, schools confront financial reckoning. This was published this morning. With the landmark House settlement reached, the spotlight has shifted squarely to schools now confronting a financial reckoning as they prepare for the coming revenue sharing model. They have a rough sense of what the financial road ahead looks like, but each institution must navigate it differently based on its own interests, resources, and priorities. There is no blueprint. We've been talking about that at Peek Around the Corner. Right? No athletic department is going to look the same as the one next to them, even in the same conference. They're all going to have a little bit of a different resources, interest, and priorities. And it's very interesting what Greg Byrne, the Alabama athletic director, says in this article. And this is why we're talking about it today. We all have to be open to realizing it's a new day. Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne told reporters during the SEC spring meetings. Byrne began more than a year ago talking with Alabama coaches about the state of play with the House case. Last fall, that evolved to a heart-to-heart discussion about a potential outcome and wide-ranging implications. Now, on the heels of the settlement agreement, we know the contours of the new financial model. Schools, at their discretion, can share as much as $22 million annually with athletes. That marks a sea change for college sports administrative class. Schools will need to tap into new revenue streams, likely with on-field corporate logos and beyond. About logos on the jerseys. That's going to happen. What's going to be the sponsorship? What's going to be the main sponsorship that is going to go on the Georgia Bulldogs jersey, on the Clemson Tiger jersey, on the Purdue Boilermakers jersey, on Rock Chalk Jayhawks jersey? New revenue streams are going to have to be created and cut expenses. Byrne, Alabama's athletic director, conceded that the new financial model means market adjustments, even for most at the high end of the industry's food chain. As much as people think there's unlimited money, there's not, Greg Byrne said. I think we all have to be thoughtful in how we spend and where we spend. And this, for me, is the PATC money shot of this article. We can't be top of the market in everything. And I'm at Alabama. Think about that, right? We can't be at the top of the market in everything. In other words, Alabama cannot be at the very top when it comes to direct compensation to its men's basketball players, women basketball players, baseball players, football players. It can't be at the top of everything. Not even Alabama in that huge athletic department. They're going to have outside collectives besides the $22 million that they're going to put in direct funds, direct payment to the student athletes. Even Alabama is not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to be at the top of the market in every sport that they sponsor. Not even Alabama. He says, I think we all have to be thoughtful in how we spend and where we spend. Look, you see how much competition there is in baseball, the ACC and the SEC, and there's going to be money spent when it comes to recruiting in baseball, but how much? We know Vanderbilt's going to go big, but is Alabama really going to be able to match some of those SEC schools when Alabama priorities, interests lie in football? Kentucky in basketball, on and on and on. Everybody's going to have different resources, different interests, different priorities, different pressure from their alumni base, different pressure from their fan base, different pressure from their coaching staffs. Even Alabama. Even Alabama cannot be the top at the market, cannot spend the most in every sport. How will schools divvy up the funds? There are myriad questions regarding how many schools will be willing and able to share dollars with athletes and how they will choose to divvy up those dollars between male and female athletes. Craig Sloan, the president of Play Fly Sports, told On3 the biggest question the company, Play Fly Sports, the biggest question from the schools is how do we make this sustainable? Meaning that it's not just a one-time fundraise. It's not just a one-time event to try to find new use of inventory. But how does this become something that each and every year is in their budget process? In that they're able to sustain a different model, this new model that's coming on. How settled creates Title IX questions. We've talked about this. Does the revenue need to be shared proportionately among male and female athletes to satisfy Title IX requirements? There is no consensus among the legal experts. And the question is unlikely to be answered before courts or the U.S. Department of Education offers guidance. There is not a soul in athletic department position at a power conference school who isn't weighing this Title IX question. And finally, in this article, what is certain is that the clock is ticking. Schools need to solve the revenue sharing questions before the model takes hold as early as fall of 2025. We're going to have to figure out how to pay for the new line item in our budget, said Byrne, later stressing this is a big deal. So, when you've got Greg Burns saying this, Alabama athletic director, well, every athletic director is saying this. And their decision making is going to be so much more complicated than even Greg Burns because he's got the resources. But he's got a lot of demand on him too. Alabama is expected not only to compete at the highest level in football, but in other sports. But they're going to have decisions to be made just like everybody else. They can't be at the top of the market in every sponsored sport at Alabama. I just wanted to put that article. I thought that was another reminder. One of the most fascinating parts of all this is that these athletic departments are going to be making strategic decisions spread across all their sponsored sports. They're going to be making a strategic decision on how they divvy up their direct payments with the male and female athletes. And I believe it's all going to be transparent. I think it has to be out in the public. We're going to find that out. We're going to find out if Michigan, I think we're going to find out how much money publicly is spent on the Michigan State Spartans men's basketball program versus the Michigan Wolverines basketball program when it comes to direct payments to the men players. I believe that's going to be transparent at these public universities. We're going to find out. We are going to find out together. Okay, let's get to the Matt Baker story. Let me first check on something here. I want to make sure Just give me a moment. Okay, we'll take another look at that again. We're keeping an eye on Leon County. We're keeping an eye on Leon County. If nothing pops here real soon, I don't think it's possible that anything is going to pop. We're looking for something to be downloaded in Leon County. So keep your head on a swivel. Matt Baker, the Tampa Bay Times, the great Matt Baker. What's in Florida State's Clemson legal contracts over the ACC? Conference realignment. We asked Florida State, Clemson, in North Carolina for legal contracts. Now, this is the key word. Related to conference realignment and the ACC. So Matt Baker, the Tampa Bay Times, they didn't just ask for all the documents. You know, it's legal contracts related to conference realignment. And it's very interesting what Matt Baker got in return. Florida State's discontent with the ACC first bubbled up publicly in a February 2023 Board of Trustees meeting. But the legal work began months earlier, and Florida State might not have even been the first school to seek outside help as it explored conference realignment options according to the documents obtained by the Tampa Bay Times. Florida State might not have even been the first school to seek outside help. Maybe not. Maybe not. On October 24th, 2022, Florida State hired Greenberg Taurig LLP to help with general athletics matters. According to contracts obtained through public records request, 14 months later, that firm filed Florida State's lawsuit against the conference in Leon County. The school's initial point of contact was Barry Richard, who represented George W. Bush in the 2000 election litigation and 2018 gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum. On October 24th, 2022, Florida State hired Greenberg LLP, right? According to contracts obtained through public record requests. October 24th, 2022. Here at Peek Around the Corner, our Florida State money perch told us on December 26, 2022, that Florida State was going to make a declaratory statement, put a spear into the ground. That was 2 months after Florida State hired this law firm. 2 months later, Florida State Money Perch was able to give us some information. October 24th, Florida State got the ball rolling. Florida State's contract with that law firm in October of 2024 began a month and a half after North Carolina hired a firm for advice and counseling if, as, and when needed regarding commercial issues involving athletics. Now hang with me here. PATC community, hang with me. Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times. What exactly are those commercial issues? The school said the nature and content of specific legal advice provided are privileged, not public. But after the Tampa Bay Times requested the legal contracts related to UNC's membership in the ACC, conference realignment, and TV rights, the school provided the September 2022 retainer with the law firms Skadden, Arp, Slate, Meagher, and Flom LLP. The firm's sports work has included TV deals with the PGA Tour, sponsorship, broadcast rights with LPGA, intellectual properties protection, trademark disputes. So when the Tampa Bay Times, in their FOIA, the public FOIA request, when they said contracts related to conference realignment, the ACC, this is what UNC felt that they needed to give. North Carolina, in September of 2023, provided in September of 2022, this is 2022. Holy smokes. 2022. North Carolina. Retainer, 2022 retainer with the law firm Skadden, Arp, Slate, Meagher, and Flom related to UNC's membership in the ACC conference realignment, and TV rights. So that was a while ago. That's a long time ago. That's September 2022. The retainer, now get a load of this. The retainer specifically excludes tax advice and did not contemplate litigation. North Carolina has not sued the ACC. They're not able to sue the ACC. But the Tar Heels are regarded as one of the most desirable brands in conference realignment. The moves by Florida State and North Carolina came not long after a major shakeup in the college sports landscape. In late June 2022, USC and UCLA announced they were leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten. 2 months later, the Big Ten was finalizing a 7-year, $7 billion TV contract that would widen the gap between what its members make and what the ACC gives its schools. We know about the financial disparity between the Big Ten, SEC, and the ACC. Clemson's legal documents with 3 different firms were all more recent. They were all signed March 15th of this year. The hourly rates, Florida State outside attorneys, we went through that before. Some of this is regurgitated. So that is the big news. North Carolina, all the way back in September of 2022. Kerry Gold knows, hey Greg, what good is that doing North Carolina now? Well, probably not a whole lot, but maybe they got, I don't know. Maybe they were able to, we don't know what that law firm did. Remember, that law firm had a history with helping with TV rights, media rights. Maybe they were exploring the ACC grant of rights. Maybe they were getting, maybe they were in some communication in regards to some valuations when it comes to North Carolina being an SEC member, Big Ten member, maybe some valuations on this dissolution theory. But it's the date, September of 2022, not 23. This was right after, basically, a couple months after it became official that USC and UCLA were drawn to the Big Ten. Now, North Carolina does not have the power to litigate, to initiate litigation, or to settle when it comes to getting out of the ACC. The Board of Governors has that power. But at the time when North Carolina was doing all this, they did have power. Now, I will say this. Thank you for the super chat, Kerry Gold Nose, Anthony Carlson, Cloak and Dagger for the third month. Holy smokes. Thank you so very much, Mr. Spartan, Anthony Carlson. Thank you so much for your generosity in becoming a member for the third month. Google the NCHB 965. And the bill information website should be highlighted on the top of the search results. That's where I got the summary from. Thank you so much, Anthony. We'll get into that. We will get into that, and I'll put that up on the screen. Thank you, Mr. Spartan, for your generosity for becoming a member for the third month. Now, what was I saying in regard? So, now North Carolina, they don't have the power, obviously, anymore to litigate, to sue the ACC. I am wondering, just speculating on who knew about North Carolina. Who knew about North Carolina hiring this, getting a retainer with this law firm? Remember something. Kevin Gusiewicz was the chancellor at the time. The old guard was in power. The old guard was in power. Not the new guard, the old guard. Kevin Gusiewicz, Bubba Cunningham, Meekins, the Board of Trustees had a few other members around them. This was 2 months. 2 months after News and Observer did a FOIA request. And we learned about the communications between Bubba Cunningham and Kevin Gusiewicz. We learned about public information, text messages, I believe, on a university phone, possibly. I believe it was text messages. I don't think it was email, but either way, it don't matter. There was communication between Jim Delaney, who was a consultant at the time for the ACC, getting paid millions of dollars, having communications with Bubba Cunningham. We know that Bubba Cunningham and Kevin Gusowich, the president and the athletic director, were having discussions in and around, should we restructure this ACC? Basically talking in code, but I think most of us believe the code talking was about possible, let's blow this ACC up. Maybe we can, that dissolution theory, that's where it popped up because of the communications between Kevin Gusowich and Bubba Cunningham. This was on the night of June 30th, 2022. And then now we've learned 2 months later, North Carolina hires a law firm. We don't know exactly what the law firm did, but North Carolina responded to Matt Baker for a request on legal matters, contracts, regards to conference realignment in the ACC. And that is what North Carolina provided. If that doesn't make you... So North Carolina did get proactive. As much as obviously they did not pull the trigger. Remember, October, so 13 months later, September 2022, October 23, the process begins in where the power is going to be stripped from the North Carolina Chapel Hill Board of Trustees, given to the Board of Governors when it comes to conference affiliation and everything that surrounds that. The decision to join a different conference, financial, you got to present a financial package that for all financial concerns around the university and the university system of 16 other schools. You got to provide that to the Board of Governors. You got to show them a financial pathway to changing your conference affiliation, and the Board of Governors have to approve it. This all happened 13 months, the process started 13 months after UNC Chapel Hill ordered the law firm. Now, since North Carolina hired a retainer, this law firm, to look into conference, all the things that has to do with conference realignment, since then, Kevin Gusowich has been replaced. Since then, Clemson and Florida State have sued the ACC. ACC has sued them. Since then, since September 22nd, the Board of Governors have all the power. Since then, the state of North Carolina is doing this bill here, where each of the FBS schools have to play each other at least one time in 6 years when it comes to basketball and football. A lot of changes since September 2022. We've had more realignment. And remember, the ACC voted to expand. Since North Carolina hired the law firm in regards to conference realignment. And North Carolina was one of the three schools that did not vote in favor of ACC expansion. So that basically sets the table. Very interesting. I was not expecting to read this today. Very interesting. I'm going to open up the phone lines here. Phone number is 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Give us a call. You can talk about anything in college football. But I was not expecting to see this, to read this. Stephen Vitt, the ACC, got wind of what UNC was plotting. So they sent out secret agents to sabotage. It might be that somehow this got to people with interest of North Carolina State, right? And other universities in the state of North Carolina. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe people figured out, found out that North Carolina Chapel Hill hired a legal firm. Now, I got a question. Can North Carolina even legally do that now? Could they even, do they still have that law firm under retainer? Could they hire a law firm to do some work, consulting work, when it comes to conference affiliation? Or does that all have to run through the Board of Governors?
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate, Mr. Hawkeye. Thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Oh, good afternoon, Greg. How are we doing today? First off.
Doing good. Busy day, doing good. I did not expect to see this today, however.
Yeah, I mean, found that to be interesting. It wasn't surprising at all to me. First and foremost, though, I got to say, I am very excited to watch the return of Floyd happen in prime time. That's first and foremost the most important news of the day, right?
No.
You might disagree. Okay.
The Floyd of Rosedale is staying exactly where it is. The reports coming out of not only the state of Minnesota, but the state of Georgia when it comes to quarterback Max Brosmere and bringing all of the wide receivers down to Georgia, and they've been working on the passing game for weeks. The report out of Georgia, Max Brosmere is the real deal, Holyfield. Look out, Big Ten, baby. Look out, Big Ten.
It's looking like it's an early season game.
It is. It's the first conference game for both teams.
This is new territory.
Yeah, it is.
And this is, for me, that's the biggest story about it. Like, as an Iowa, I'm like, wait, what? Like, that's the game that we prepare for all season. Your offenses, your defenses, you're ready to go. There's a lot of, like, now for me, it's almost like the Iowa State game where it's like, it's a great rivalry, but after it's over, you're like, I wonder, did we really see the full team involved here?
Yeah.
So, early season games do tend to favor offenses rather than defenses. So that might work in your favor.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Minnesota opens up the season against North Carolina.
Oof.
And that's on a Thursday night on Fox. And it's going to be, Minnesota is 2-point favorite. I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen. North Carolina killed the Gophers last year. We were right away. We were without our secondary linebackers. We were done really early in the season in regards to have any depth. We were done against Drake May. I mean, he picked us apart. It was pitch and catch. Anytime we put pressure on him, he kind of floated away from the linemen and kept looking downfield and picked us apart, and it was ugly. It was ugly early, ugly in the middle, ugly late. North Carolina does not have that type of quarterback this year. They're worried about their quarterback position. So we'll see. I think we got a shot, but we'll see. So, yeah, we got a big test. I don't know. I think Iowa has Iowa State right away, right?
That's generally the second game of the season.
Yeah.
First one, we only do a cupcake. I'm trying to remember who it is. I'll have to look. But, yeah, it's kind of like everyone plays tough in it, but sometimes it's kind of ugly ball.
Yeah.
It's a great game, but sometimes it's kind of ugly. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for us. We'll see.
Yeah.
But something you're talking about here, I wanted to talk about is this number we're talking, the $22 million cap. One of the talking points is it's very hard for a university to have strong success in both football and basketball. Just in terms of focus, money going towards coaches, it's hard to really pull off both. Very, very few can do it. I don't know if it's even really been done.
Yeah.
But now with this cap, I gotta say, maybe we can't go so far as to say impossible, but it certainly seems like it. Mm-hmm. Because if you try to spread it around equally, you're probably gonna just be good at everything.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's purposeful. Like they want certain schools within a conference to pull their weight in something. Yeah, I think what we're seeing in the SEC right now, a certain school named Arkansas has already deciphered this and have decided, well, it would cost us an awful lot to try to become a power in football in this conference.
Yeah.
So let's become a power in basketball. And they've already started going down that path. I think that's the future. I think each school is going to have to carry their weight in something.
Yeah. I agree.
We'll see how that goes. And, that might be like in the Big Ten, Minnesota. Well, maybe you guys will just become a hockey powerhouse. Maybe
that's what we've been anyways. So,
right. And maybe you guys will go to basketball. Honestly, I don't understand why Minnesota doesn't. I mean, you have yourself a large metro area there to pull from. Yeah. And if you just spent money in NIL on like a few players and coaches, you could do in Arkansas.
Yeah. I can tell you, right, and I know this has been reported in public, and I can tell you based on private reports, the NIL money is going to hockey and football. It's not going to go to basketball. So I would not expect.
Gotcha.
That's
fair. I mean, I'm happy. I wouldn't want to see the Minnesota game kind of depreciate between Iowa and Minnesota. Yeah. So, because I know Iowa is definitely going to go into football, and I think if they throw it into basketball, it's probably going to be in women's, not men's.
Yeah.
Now
here is Notre Dame. This is a report that just came out from Public Scoop. I'm going to put it up on the board here. This is Marcus Freeman, the head coach of Notre Dame. I still, in my heart of hearts, believe you're going to get paid based on how good a football player you are. And that's my message to them. It's no different than now. You're making money off your name, image, and likeness based on how good of a player you are. I don't know about that. So continue to focus on that. You're going to get paid just as well at Notre Dame as anywhere else in the country. We're going to be great. We're in a great situation here. I couldn't be more excited for our athletic program. We'll be amongst sports college athletic programs. He doubled down on the message. But players shouldn't focus on how much you're getting paid. Just keep being a great player, said Freeman. You're going to get paid as well at Notre Dame as anywhere else in the country. Probably true, but he's
good
telling
luck
the
telling that
players
to an
not to worry.
18-year-old.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good luck telling that to an 18-year-old when they're looking at millions of dollars possibly.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good words, but it's
Yeah.
not reality. On that, we were talking about this money, and this number, I know it seems daunting, $22 million, but I'm looking at it after, we kind of have to go back at things that were announced previously that maybe we looked at going, okay, how is this going to work? One was like the congressional stuff, but they've been working on that for a while. Another is the talk previously we had about NIL collectives having to come in-house, that all the athletic departments and states are already passing laws for them to do this. NIL money is coming in-house. I would have to think that this $22 million that these athletic departments are going to be doling out, that's a lot of it. So when people are trying to figure out where are we getting this money from, I think that's the number one answer. It's not the entire answer, but NIL money coming directly in-house is probably a lot of what they're depending upon to fill this gap. And I don't have numbers in front of me to say, like, how close to $22 million that could be to fill, but that would count, right? I mean, if these NIL collectives come in-house, become associated with it, if all that money has to come through the athletic department and then to the students, that would count, right?
Yeah, well, okay. I believe, but I could be completely wrong, Immaculate. But I believe at this
so could
point,
I
believe at this point that there's going to be $22 million for most of these power conference schools. The money, there's going to be an in-house collective. Okay? And I think the players are going to have to sign over their name, image, and likeness to the school in-house NIL collective. But then there's going to be an outside collective. And I believe that now this is my theory. I believe that the big time players are not going to sign away their name, image, and likeness in-house. That they're going to, if you've got an outside collective, like the big programs will with a lot of money, they're going to be able to be in the big recruiting wars for the big 5-star players, and they're going to sign a deal with these guys. There's still going to be probably more enforcement, more people looking over your shoulders, making sure it's a legit deal where, your name, image, and likeness is going to get plastered on a car wash outfit place, or you're going to have to go sign some autograph or whatever you're going to do as a player to earn that money. But I think there's going to be deals outside of this 22 cap. But then most of your student athletes are going to get paid through in the $22 million cap, where you have to sign away your name, image, and likeness. That is my theory right now. But I'm not sure.
There's logic to that the top tier of athletes would have, the supply versus demand advantage to be able to demand that, basically. Like, someone would offer them that in order to have them come there, like, anonymity from that, autonomy. Yeah. But that goes out the window if we get some kind of answer from Congress, which, at this point in time, no bets on that. But if at some point in time, if they come down on this, you might see it mandated that for the protection of the athletes, and I'm using air quotes right now, this all has to go through the athletic department. And I do think that some outside will be there, but that's largely like you're paying just like you would like any marketing, right? Like there's like if someone's paying for your likeness in a commercial or and so I think some of that, but like some of the money that they do, it's just like basic, like a lot of it now is just you be there, you be there for all these practices. It's like it lines out that they have to go do all this stuff and then you get paid. That's just straight up stuff that should probably just go through the athletic department anyways. But yeah, they'll probably have some ways to get direct funding for like marketing and things for themselves. Well, we'll see how it plays out. But I do think a bunch of that $22 million is actually going to be coming from sources where it already exists. It's just instead of from a private collective, it's going to come from the athletic department. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
One last thing, I'm going to let you go to the next person come on here, but I just wanted to say I had a kind of a conversation on X about this earlier, and you touched upon it. This situation, if this goes, to full employment status, you had mentioned Title IX and possibilities with that in terms of sports, whatever, and spending. If they go full employee status, Title IX is gone. It doesn't account for employees. And so then you have to look at something, and we had a conversation, this was about it, Title VII, and people saying, you can't discriminate those, so you can't cut these sports, you can't cut more women's sports than men's sports. I'm like, no, that's Title IX. Title IX keeps the number the same. Title VII is strictly about you can't discriminate against people because of their gender, or their sex, or their race, or whatever. If you can point to a certain sport and saying this one gets subsidized the most and we're cutting it because of that, you can cut it. And if it ends up being that way and you have more women's sports cut than men's sports or whatever, and it's because you can point to the ledger. It's like, this is why. There's nothing on that against that, because it's not because they were women, it's because they're having to be subsidized more. So there's a lot of slippery slope to this that I hope folks that are in the know are all paying attention to, because we could have some really ugly unintended consequences if that doesn't get done properly. But that's it on that. That's just food for thought. Not to be too much of a downer on that, but it's pretty serious. So we'll leave it at that. And once again, looking forward to that game against Minnesota. We'll see. It's coming soon.
Yes, it is, sir. Yes, it is. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Great call. Immaculate, Mr. Hawkeye. And the game that he's talking about is, of course, Florida Roseville, September 21st, NBC. Kerry Gold knows, congratulations, Florida State, for making its 19th Super Regional. Holy smokes. Congratulations. Congratulations, Florida State Seminoles. Congratulations. Thank you for the super chat, Kerry Gold knows. I do appreciate your continued generosity to this channel, helping us keep the lights on. This is the bill that we were talking about earlier. H965 in the state of North Carolina. We're going to pop it up on the screen here shortly. This is a hearing set for tomorrow, Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. H965. This is the summary of the bill. Stating the legislative purpose of the act is to ensure eligible UNC constituent institutions regularly compete against one another in eligible sports, defined to include football and men's and women's basketball. Sets forth defined terms, defines high enrollment institution as a constituent institution which fields a Division I football team with a full-time equivalent enrollment in the fall semester of 2023 and 2024 of 30,000 students or more. Establishes requirements for a high enrollment institution to play at least one home or away game each academic year against another high enrollment institution, an eligible constituent institution that is not a high enrollment institution. And number 2, play at least one home and one away game against each eligible constituent institution that is not a high enrollment institution every 6 academic years, alternating home and away games. Applies beginning with the 25-26 academic year. It appropriates $1 million in non-reoccurring funds from the general fund to the UNC Board of Governors for 24 and 25 to inform eligible constituent institutions and the public about the competitions required by the new law. $1 million the Board of Governors is getting to tell these 6 institutions about the new law. Holy smokes.
Call from.
Oh, I didn't get the name. Who's calling?
Hey, Greg, it's Rich Johnson. How are you?
Rich Johnson. Thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
So, with the NIL, the back payments, let's assume there was a gifted power forward who went to a private school in North Carolina and got paid under the table. Within I think it was 2016 is the beginning of the bandwidth of the years. So let's just say that he fits that criteria. So that player was able to get paid under the table, and now that same player is going to get a chance to get paid over the table in terms of the restitution that the House lawsuit affords. That just doesn't seem fair to. I mean, this person's double dipping. Am I understanding that correctly?
How far back is the class action lawsuit? Does it go back to 2016?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. If somebody in the chat knows, let us know how far that goes back. If it does go that far back, I guess that person's going to get a small check. Because again, if it's under the table and nobody found out about it, right? I don't know. It's a good question, but I'm assuming who's ever in that class action lawsuit is going to get some money out of it.
Gotcha. So in that case, that person would have double dipped. They got paid under the table.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Again, doesn't seem fair, but
no, it doesn't.
So be it. All right. Well, thanks very much, Greg. Have a great day.
Appreciate it. Great call. Call again. I wish I remembered how far back the class action lawsuit in the House case went to. But I am not sure. Anyways, just to finish up, give us a call, 763-260-1333. We lost a call. We lost a call. The call lasted about a second. Just to finish up on... So basically... the public schools, the FBS, state of North Carolina schools, are going to be required to play each other, starting in 25 and 26. Again, the state of North Carolina looking out for all the public schools.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
I'm waiting for some breaking news, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's no breaking news. actually there might be. So I was thinking, so Greg, as you know, I work with I deal with tax stuff for my career, and my firm, we have a nonprofit group, and I was talking to some of the folks in the leadership there. In order to get tax exempt status for the IRS, there can't be self-dealing. You have to basically, you have to have some sort of noble, charitable, higher educational purpose to what you're doing. And what's interesting is I was talking to them about the House settlement, and I was talking to them about kind of, the way things are going, whether private capital gets involved in other instances. There's a concept called unrelated taxable business income. Basically, if the income generating activity is outside the mission of the university, that's taxable to the university. And it's just sort of interesting that there's a lot of issues right now that need to be resolved by congressional legislation. We've talked about Title IX. We've talked about employment status. There's also, how are these universities going to be treated as their agenda becomes more and more looking like a business enterprise rather than sort of an educational institution. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know the answers to this, but they are, my colleagues were sort of in agreement with me that they really need to address something like that in legislation. And, Congress is back in session this week, and I think we need to be watching really closely because part of the House settlement, as you saw that, is that student group had to kind of lend some lobbying support to congressional efforts. So, I would not be surprised if there's some draft legislation out there, Greg, that's going to hit very soon because, man, I've already posted this on Twitter if you guys want to follow me on X and see what I said about this. But, man, Greg, I am scared to death if nothing gets done by congressional action because there is so much ambiguity and regulatory risk that, universities may not want to touch a lot of this stuff, and it could really just be harmful to athletics at the college level all the way down the line.
Yep. And in so many ways, too. Not just the Title IX question, but so many different ways. You're absolutely correct.
So, hopefully
I'm hoping for a miracle out of Congress. I don't think we're going to get it, but I'm praying for a miracle.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, hopefully people, don't make this a political issue if it gets to, introduced. Because even though as dysfunctional as Congress is, legislation still happens, Greg. They still do some things. But I really hope that political interest groups are wise in how they're handling this because I think we have, I feel like we've got a hand grenade with the hydrogen bomb in it, and I hope people are really careful in how they handle that because I really fear for the long-term implications on kind of everything we know because it can really blow up the system, and there goes tradition, and there goes everything we love about college sports. Yeah. So, so I just want to give everyone a friendly reminder to watch very closely what happens, and also, there might be some, like I said before, the SEC and Big Ten have done a good job at wielding their power so far, but also, if they will too much and aggregate too much, they also run the risk of not garnering sympathy in Congress for the legislation I mentioned. Yeah. So let's hope that there's some in there because power is great, but power also requires grace and diplomacy. Yeah. So we'll see. But, great show as always, Greg. As far as North Carolina. And that state, that is a quagmire, and I think I'd have easier luck getting out of the mud in Minnesota in the spring in a front wheel drive vehicle with ball tires than North Carolina not navigating that. But thanks a lot, Greg, and have a great day.
Appreciate it. Great call. Great call. Great call by Ryan Thomas once again. Absolutely correct. I think as time goes on, we're all going to get a little bit more scared about Congress not acting. I gifted 5 memberships. David B., friends call me Sean, Buckshot Kid, Congo, Chad Bracy. Congratulations. You are all new members. All new members of College Football's Peek Around the Corner, Cloak and Dagger. You are officially knighted. Congratulations. Congratulations to all of you. Kerry Gold Nose with a gifted membership. Holy smokes. Thank you so much for your incredible generosity. Once again, Kerry Gold Nose, you are hereby knighted, Cloak and Dagger. And King Spleen, you were gifted a member. Please, when you have the time, say thank you to Kerry Gold Nose for his generosity. King Spleen, you are officially hereby knighted, Cloak and Dagger. All the members, new members of our program, you can go to our YouTube channel and go find the members only episodes and give it a look, give it a watch. Thank you so very much. Appreciate it.
Call from
Steve-O.
Steve-O is on the line. Thanks for calling, Steve-O. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg. I want to see what you think of something here, a little idea. A couple things that have already happened was the Fox, ESPN, Warner Brothers app being announced.
Yeah.
And then ESPN subbed a couple playoff games to TNT.
Yes.
And then looks like TNT quite possibly could lose the NBA or get a smaller package.
Looks like they're losing it. Yep.
And then what do you think of these possibilities that when the ACC goes through some changes, falls apart, whatever, that ESPN would sub-license, say, 90% of their contract with the ACC to TNT if they don't, because a couple months ago they talked about how they wanted True TV to be sort of a sports channel.
Yeah.
That's the wrong term per se, but you got my idea. And then once ESPN would pass along that 90% plus or minus, the SEC then would agree to ESPN to go to 9 conference games. And then quite possibly soon after that, TNT would get a contract to televise the new Pac-12. What do you think of that idea?
I think you're either on something or you're onto something, but I believe you're onto something. Having when the ACC implodes, and if there is a Congo line out of there's like 4 schools or maybe a couple more schools, and the ACC's trying to survive, and they're able to backfill, they're able to survive, and the contract, and maybe they're definitely going to redo the contract. Have that content sub-license or ESPN shares the content or whatever, and have that go to TNT, TBS, True TV. All of that is under the Warner Brothers Discovery. What is that called? Is it called Cinemax or Max? I think it's called Max now, right?
Yeah, I think Max.
Max, streaming. Now I know they're going to be sharing the space. This is going to be a streaming platform with, ESPN and Fox, so maybe Max won't be a part of it. I think that is very interesting. Very interesting. I'm old enough to remember there being college football on TBS. I remember a Georgia Tech game being played on TBS. Am I crazy? I am crazy, no question about it. But I remember there being some games on TBS.
Well, TBS is going to want
look that up.
some content.
Yeah.
If they're still wanting to be a sports, at least one of their stations be into sports. I mean, it used to be TBS had the Braves.
Yeah.
So I just think that's a good way for ESPN to pass along a lot of that ACC without going through the courts or whatever to change the contract, breaking the contract, whatever they want to call it. And then that way also ESPN passing that along, then they could get the SEC to go to 9 conference games. Because right now ESPN doesn't need that extra content. Why pay for that ninth conference game if you don't need the content? So that's why they keep talking about, well, we hadn't decided to extend it from 8 to 9 games. Well, that's because ESPN doesn't need it. So, I mean, get Oklahoma, Texas, and whoever else goes to the SEC, then you do the 9 conference games. That's my thought.
Yeah.
But I wanted to pass that along to you.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Steve-O, I think you're onto something there, sir.
All right. Have a good day, Greg.
Appreciate the phone call. Great call. Again, the big story of today. UNC moved for a retainer with a law firm in September of 2022 related to the ACC membership. Their ACC membership. Matt Baker, the Tampa Bay Times reporting. We're going to go through that real quick once again. I want to thank Coy for his generosity once again. A gifted membership, and I believe Jamie Thornton was the one who picked it up. Unbelievable. Jamie Thornton, Mrs. Arkansas, Razorback, Coy, and Jamie Thornton. Once again, you are hereby officially knighted Cloak and Dagger. Thank you so much for your generosity, Coy. Appreciate it very much.
Call from
Movie Time Blues.
I'm sorry, did not get the name.
Movie Time Blues.
Movie Time Blues, yes. Beautiful. Movie Time Blues is giving us a call. The floor is yours, good sir.
Yes, I have a thought about the North Carolina situation.
Yes, sir.
And what I'm thinking is that the way the UNC Chapel Hill is going to come around on this legislation is that they and Duke University becomes a package deal, and since that rivalry is a lot of money,
yeah,
and what they're going to do is get their new conference, the one they're going to go to, they're going to make a lot of money for the conference, and that funnels back into North Carolina, and that's how they're going to make the other institutions whole somewhat.
Okay, so what you're saying is there's going to be a tax, a Carolina tax on North Carolina Duke. They're going to give a little bit of their money back to the other public state institutions for them to be able to break free. Is that what you're saying, Movie Time Blues?
Yes.
Now, now, some people agree with you, Movie Time Blues. Some people would say, Movie Time Blues, it's not going to be North Carolina and Duke because the Board of Governors are looking at the interest of North Carolina State because they're a public university. It has to be North Carolina State leaving, and then paying a tax for the other public other institutions, or it might be North Carolina State and Duke leaving, but it's going to be very difficult for North Carolina and Duke to leave us a package if you don't bring North Carolina State along, because their interest, there's a lot of people in the Board of Governors, a 24 member that have connections with North Carolina State. What do you say to those people who say it's got to be North Carolina State, it's got to be the Wolfpack, not the Blue Devils?
It comes down to the money. If you get Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, and Virginia have that basketball, and with Kentucky, and that makes a lot more money for everyone involved. It brings a lot more money, then that money gets funneled back into their respective states.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Justin Lucas says Jones Street would never allow UNC to take Duke, a private school, along with North Carolina State being left out to dry. It will not happen.
Okay, it's a theory. So.
Yeah, it's a theory. Interesting. Yep. And you're right. Maybe everything being even, a North Carolina Duke combination would bring back the most money for those public universities. But then again, the Board of Governors, once again, we get back to this Board of Governors. They have to preside over the interests of North Carolina State. They're not bound to looking at the interest of Duke or Wake Forest. So something to consider. But I appreciate the theory, Movie Time Blues.
Sure. And also the SEC is going to have their own say as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, they have the leverage. They have, a couple of spots that, they are golden. Mm-hmm. They're worth they're basically the golden tickets.
Yeah.
So whoever gives them, the most value, the most the most value for the conference, that's going to be that's going to be the ones that's chosen.
Well, there are people who agree with you, sir. Right? There's people who say that Duke's going to jump over North Carolina State because they're going to be more. If the door is ajar, if the door is slightly open for taking two North Carolina schools, some believe it's going to be Duke, not North Carolina State. So I appreciate the call, sir. Movie Time Blues. Please call again.
No problem.
You got it. Thank you so very much.
All right.
All right, sir. It's I think if we took it back to 2022, September of 2022, and you said if there was a school in North Carolina that was going to go with North Carolina, Chapel Hill as a package deal to either the SEC or the Big Ten, I think most people would say it's going to be Duke. North Carolina and Duke. But I think the majority right now, after understanding, this is why we covered it so aggressively here at Peek Around the Corner, the lay of the land at North Carolina, because we covered it so aggressively. We know that North Carolina State's interest is going to be held above those other private schools when it comes to the Board of Governors, and they have the power. I have noticed, now look, people disagree with me. That's fine. I have noticed there's some college football YouTube channels out there that don't really even understand. They don't know the Board of Governors have this power. So that when they talk about this, they're talking about North Carolina and Duke, and they're not bringing in this situation about the Board of Governors.
Call from
Rick.
Rick is on the line. The floor is yours, good sir.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
I was thinking after that last caller, I got to thinking, what about the idea of after FSU and Clemson land in the Big Ten, the Big Ten
plant a flag in North Carolina, in Raleigh-Durham, and plant a flag in Houston, Texas, with Duke and Rice?
Well, interesting. I think the Duke part is more interesting than the Rice part. The Rice just does not bring any media value to the Big Ten. Now, the Big Ten did have talks with Rice, and I covered this on this YouTube channel. I want to say it was 2017, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to take a look at my notes. The Big Ten did have talks with Rice about a potential baseball affiliation with the Big Ten. But the Rice wasn't interested.
But that was before the NBC and the Fox and the CBS getting involved with the Big Ten.
Oh yeah,
and,
way before.
And the Houston market,
yeah,
for all of those channels, and Raleigh-Durham for Duke.
Yeah.
That you talk about a national brand.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Texas, New York, LA,
yeah,
Seattle.
Yeah, your very interesting point. My take on it, it's not Rice is not going to come in as a full member for the Big Ten. They just don't have incredibly small private university. They don't have the fan base. They don't bring a great university. Obviously, they fill in a lot of check marks. In a great market. They're in a great market. They're in a great market. It's the equivalent
of Northwestern. Same thing as Northwestern. They're the same as Northwestern.
I mean, can Rice fill up 35,000 in a football stadium? Probably not. I mean, I don't remember. I can't remember the last time they did that.
Maybe as a Big Ten member they might.
Maybe.
Well, anyway, it's something to ponder.
I
appreciate
it. It's interesting. It's interesting. No question about it.
Thank you for taking the call.
You got it. Appreciate it. Call again, sir. It's an interesting. I mean, look. The Big Ten has. They were in some conversation with Rice about the baseball, and Rice said no. So, yeah, they do have that big old stadium there. We'll see what it looks like after they redo it, and of course Northwestern is building a brand new stadium. Holy smokes. John Till, the Big Ten could get into Texas and SEC land with Tulane. Well, they can get into the state of Louisiana with Tulane. Yeah, I don't think there's any interest in Tulane when it comes to the Big Ten. Again, Tulane is a bigger athletic department, more people engaged, a bigger fan base than Rice. I used to have a niece that lived real close to Tulane. She was a teacher, not at Tulane, but now she's moved out to California with her husband. They lived real close to Tulane, incredible school. I just don't think the Big Ten is interested in a Tulane, and I think they're going to wait on getting access into the state of Texas. The Big Ten's target is the Southeast. And then I think once they get into the Southeast, I think they're going to hit the pause button until Notre Dame does something. Yeah. I'll go ahead and read it. Thank you, Expedition Greg. We've got an article that came out, and I don't know if it's this particular writer or if it's a different writer. It looks like we're getting a report from USA Today, Blake Topmeyer. So we'll go ahead and read it. When it comes directly from Fly War Eagle, from Auburn Tiger News, fan side, some of their articles have been way out there. But we'll go ahead and read this one. Thank you, Expedition Greg. Miami and Notre Dame is seen as better fits for the Big Ten than the SEC. Andrew Hughes, this is from USA Today, Blake Topmeyer, doesn't see Notre Dame and Miami as fits for the SEC, instead slotting the former in as a Big Ten shoo-in and the latter as a party town with little football precedent that belongs anywhere, but it just means more conference. Notre Dame remains an unlikely fit for the SEC. Topmeyer prefaced before saying, if the Irish ever surrender their independence, I expect the Big Ten to become their home. I agree that Miami's doesn't mesh with the SEC's vibe. That's a beach party city, not a college football town. Notre Dame, which sits not only well above the Mason-Dixon line, but is less than 2 hours from the Big Ten headquarters in Chicago, makes as little sense as any school that's been linked to the SEC. Still, CBS Sports' Dennis Dodd shared on his Inside ND Sports Notre Dame football podcast that the Fighting Irish or UNC are the likeliest additions from Greg Sankey and company during the next round of conference realignment. Well, you guys know my position. Dennis Dodd is saying Fighting Irish or UNC. You better put your money on UNC. UNC is where the SEC wants to go and where they're going to be able to go once UNC gets out of the quagmire sometime after the ACC implosion. I'm telling you guys and gals in the PATC community, the chatter is very strong. Very strong that SEC has circled their wagons around the UNC, and any connective tissues to UNC is in play for the SEC. And then they're talking about Miami. The SEC is open to expansion, but the Big Ten in position to add more schools. The SEC is open to expansion, but it hasn't shown much of a willingness to add Florida State and Clemson, despite the culture fits for both in the South's premier athletic conference. Being unlikely for Notre Dame, too, means the Big Ten is in the driver's seat for conference realignment. Miami, Notre Dame, Florida State, Clemson would be major additions for the Big Ten the next time realignment strikes. The SEC would have limited options to counter UNC and Virginia and other in-market schools in North Carolina, Virginia. It's not, again, this is coming from PATC. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. You can let me have it in the chat room or with the phone calls. The SEC doesn't have limited options. It's the options. UNC and Virginia is where they want to go. It's where they want to go. It's where the presidents want. They want the money. They want the demographics. They want the money that comes out of the state of North Carolina and Virginia, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of money in Northern Virginia. There's a lot of power connected in Northern Virginia when it comes to government. There's a lot of high school, the demographics, the international student connections. Big Ten is not in either state. Both states are growing. I get it, though. I get it. Football brand, football brand, football brand, football brand. They don't bring it to the table like Florida State and Clemson. But the SEC, I mean, they got so much football brand, they don't know what to do with it. I think they want to grow their bandwidth. And it sounds like Dennis Dodd at USA Today is hearing the same thing. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me. But anyways, Minnesota versus Wisconsin is also known as Greg versus Gouda shirts. Again, I have no problem with cheese. I have no problem with cheese. Just don't put it on meat. Thank you, Ryan Thomas, for the super chat. Okay, who in the chat room likes having once in a while, who in the chat room likes having a Whopper at Burger King? Who likes having a Whopper at Burger King? Flame grilled burger, Whopper. Connecticut fan says me. Brother Mozone. Ryan Thomas. Good. Okay. Vox says this guy. Okay. Now, go with your wife, go with your husband, go bring your kid with you. Bring your neighbor with you. Bring your old man with you. Bring your mother with you. Bring somebody with you. Drive to Burger King. The home of the Whopper. Get in line. Get through the drive-thru. Order those terrible French fries or get those little onion rings with the zesty sauce. Get yourself 2 Whoppers. Get yourself 2 Whoppers. Get one, the normal Whopper. The one that made the Whopper famous decades and decades ago when I was a little boy growing up in Minnesota. Get the regular Whopper and then get the Whopper with cheese. Have your person that you brought with you, your wife, your husband, your sister, your brother, your kid, your pastor. Cut the 2 burgers in half and then have a taste test. Bite into the Whopper without cheese. Bite into the Whopper with cheese. and have an honest conversation with yourself. Have an honest conversation with yourself. What is better? The Whopper or the Whopper with cheese? And if you do this, just this one act, I believe in my heart of hearts, the fat guy from Minnesota, I believe the whole world is going to open up to you. The whole world you're going to look at everything different. You're going to understand the cheesification of America has destroyed your thinking. It has pickled your brain with cheese, cheese, cheese. It has to be in meat, meat, meat. Now, people in the chat room. Amy S., have it your way. Have it the fat guy from Minnesota way, Amy. That's what it should say, Amy. That's what it should say. Have it the fat guy from Minnesota way. Do the test. The next time after you've done this Whopper test, the PATC Whopper test, I want you to truthfully come back the next live show after you do the test and put down a comment and tell me, have you relieved yourself from the cheesification of America? Have you been able to break away from this cult group that was created when it came to putting cheese on meat? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. RW, that's because they use industrial cheese. A good quality cheddar. Okay, RW, I mean, let's just start with this. Let's start with the Whopper test. And then we'll graduate some of you. Some of you are just going to not, some of you are unsalvable. Some of you cannot be saved. Some of you cannot be saved. First world problems. And it's not even a first world problem. It's a PATC issue. We're the only one. We're having a PATC issue. Have it the Greg the Cooler's way. LFG is a very smart man. Very smart man. Okay. We're going to close it up. We've been on the air for almost 2 hours. I appreciate everybody coming on in. We're having some fun. The big news for today, UNC Chapel Hill moved for retainer with law firm. They retained a law firm. On September 2022, related to their ACC membership. We don't exactly know what the law firm did, what they looked into, but these were the documents that North Carolina UNC Chapel Hill gave to Matt Baker in the Tampa Bay Times after a FOIA request when Tampa Bay Times Matt Baker asked for any documents related to conference realignment, ACC, suing the conference, TV contracts. Very interesting. North Carolina looked at this early. Florida State then looked at it in October of 2022, and they acted. Eventually, they acted. So it was all about that time. September, October, 6, 8, 10 weeks after it became official that USC and UCLA were joining the Big Ten. June 30th of 2022. Dots are connecting. Now, that was a time when North Carolina Chapel Hill had the power to sue the ACC if they wanted to, but now they don't. That has to go through the North Carolina Board of Governors. We're going to follow this story. We're going to follow the North Carolina bill that they're going to be talking about tomorrow. North Carolina House of Representatives. We're also going to be the bill that has all the FBS schools, the 6 North Carolina public schools have to play each other once every 6 years in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. We're also going to be following a story, or at least some sort of pleadings. There is a letter that the Attorney General of the state of Florida, Attorney General Moody, have sent to the judge in the state of Florida in their case, Moody suing the ACC. Now, that hasn't been available. We can't see it yet. I keep checking the website, Leon County website, in that case. Not the same case as Judge Cooper, Florida State versus ACC. That's another case in Leon County. Attorney General Moody versus the ACC. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to keep an eye on everything in college football. A lot going on. Eventually, we're in June. So eventually, we're going to be laying down our first conference prediction, the races in the ACC, the Big Ten, SEC, the Big 12, the fat guy from Minnesota, Greg the Heater. This year, I'm going to be laying down my predictions. And then you guys are all going to attack me for my absolute brilliance, or whatever is the opposite of brilliance, which is Greg the Cooler. That's who I've been. But that's not who I'm going to be in 2024. So buckle up, brace for impact. Thank you for joining us. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button and then open up your notifications. Turn them on. We could be going live again tonight. Who knows? We go where the story goes. We go where the story goes. Breaking news in college football. So subscribe, open up, turn on those notifications, and smash the like button if you've enjoyed, if you've liked our content today. I want to thank you for the donations that help us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. I want to thank you for the comments in the chat room and for all the creative comments, the funny comments, the humor, the passion, the laughter that you all bring to the PATC community every single day. And I appreciate the wonderful phone calls, the true fuel that keeps this light burning here at Peek Around the Corner, the incredible phone calls that we get across the country, all over the country. This is a national college football YouTube channel. Without you, this does not exist. I want to thank you for joining us here on Monday. It's just the start of the week. Holy smokes. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.